Hi guys, Dean here from the selfcontainedcreative.com, place on the internet that tries to help creatives with audio and video production. So today we are looking at signal, and signal in the sense of signal that goes into a DAW. This video is assuming that you have signal coming into your computer. If that's the case, congratulations. That's a big achievement, big step to your home setup. I will be making more videos on studio setups and what the components are, what you need for that setup. And so this video is assuming that you've already got all that and that you are well on your way to recording audio. So you may have audio coming into the computer or signal coming into your computer, but often people wonder how loud or quiet should it be when they see the meters, the level meters there and the signal coming in. It's not about how loud or quiet it is, it's about the signal level, how much of the meter should be filling up when you're recording the audio. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that today. So we're going to be talking about the signal level at recording, the signal levels when you're mixing, and also the mastering level. So each phase of the recording, mixing and mastering will have different sort of guidelines, rough guidelines, always there to be changed depending on what you're doing, but the rough guidelines sort of I like to follow to ensure that the levels are a healthy level for the recording, the mixing and the mastering stages to finalize the song. Now before we start, got off to a bit of a bad start today. Quite a sad story. So I went downstairs, went into the kitchen to make myself a coffee to start making the video today. And there was no coffee. Now for anyone who knows me, that is a bit of a disaster. I don't really drink alcohol, but coffee is my fix. So that was a little bit disappointing this morning. But like a trooper, I knew I had to make the video, so I just got on with it and made myself a nice cup of English tea, or Welsh tea. Cheers. Anyway, back to the video. So I'm going to give an example today using my microphone here. Just going to stick some headphones on so you don't get any feedback through the monitors. I'm inside of Pro Tools here, but this will work with any DAW. And if you're not sure of any of this at the moment, there will be other videos taking it back a little bit just to take you right from start to finish with regards to home recording. I'm actually moving house at the moment, so I've got myself my little laptop here just for today's videos. Nice and basic, so you should be able to follow along with this easy. So yeah, inside of Pro Tools here we have got a track, which is a track, one of mine, which I sang on and wrote the lyrics for a few years back. So I'm going to give an example of the signal levels, how they should be recording along to this track. Okay, so here we have got my microphone and I can hear myself, which is always a good sign. And we are about to start recording, but also we need to be thinking about the levels. So on your interface you'll have a gain staging, parameters there, so normally a gain pot to turn. So I'm just going to set the levels on mine. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so I am just speaking here and I have got inside of the DAW, you can see that I've got a nice sort of comfortable level. We want to be aiming for roughly between -18 and -12 dB. So we're just looking at, you want to get that meter sort of halfway and over full. So in Pro Tools where I'm using here, they used to have, I think it was Pro Tools 10, they used to have a nice display of green, amber and then red. They don't seem to have it in the later versions, but that always seemed to be a good indicator of sort of the loudest parts should maybe just creep into the amber. But for the most part, we want to be looking at that sort of -18 to -12 dB. You can see the little the numbers on the display there. So yes, so I've got a nice healthy signal level there. So I'm going to just record something now, just to show you back that. Okay. Story of my life, came through the bad times alright. Then I went and made things worse. I can't do what's right, stuck between my head and heart, good and bad, right or wrong, I just can't see the light. Okay, so I've recorded that little bit there. For the purpose of this video, it doesn't really matter whether it was in tune or not. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. But yeah, so let's take a little look at this now. So you can see from that take there, inside of Pro Tools, I'm sort of bouncing in there, sort of averaging around sort of the -20 to -15, which is a nice healthy signal to be having inside the DAW. When it comes to the quieter parts, obviously there's dynamics in a track, in the vocals, and that's something that can be changed in post-production later with something called compression, which can bring the levels up to sort of more of like a general overall sort of average level, if you like. So that is the recording level for this part. Now, I did have trouble with this when I first started working with audio. I remember being at uni in my first year, and my wife came into the studio and we were just having a mess around. There was this lovely big SSL desk that we were using on the day, and it was all great. You know, I sort of was getting used to how to use it, how everything worked with the SSL. And so my wife came in and we started recording a song, and she was recording to a track on the day. She's got a really, really powerful voice. So I set the microphone up and she starts singing, and then it gets to like a really loud part and it clips. So clipping is when it reaches the top of the meter, 0 dB, and then the waveforms get chopped off at the top. So that's called clipping or peaking. And I just couldn't understand, I couldn't work out a happy medium as to where the meters should be, and how could it be that it was fine for most of the song, but then when it came to the loud parts, what was I supposed to do with the dynamic range of the song? Like I said, she had a really powerful voice, so the loud parts were particularly hard to control. So I tried all sorts. I tried, right, can you move back from the microphone on this part? Can you move forward on the quiet parts, and like maybe move your head off to the side? And nothing seemed to work. It was just simply because I was under the impression that the meters had to be full, mostly full at the time, which obviously isn't the case. You want to be sort of looking at that halfway level within the meters, so that you've got a nice healthy signal. And also listen to your ears as well, because what you want to try and do is represent exactly what the sound source is doing. So whether it's a guitar, voice, whatever it is, how it sounds in the room when you're just playing without recording it. If it sounds somewhere close there and you've got a nice healthy signal level in there, you're not going to be far wrong. So there's our variations to this. People will talk about preamps and running it hot, and transistor preamps and tube preamps and all that. But like for this video, we are talking at basic level, one audio interface. We are just gaining, we're getting a nice healthy signal level, and we're just recording into our DAW. So what about mixing? What about when you're putting all them elements together? So when we mix, everything goes, no matter how you route it, or if you've got any buses or any effects going on, everything goes to what's called the master bus. The master bus is a stereo mixdown, and in order for anything to be part of the track, it needs to go through the master bus, and that's what we export at the end for our track. Now, if you've got a good healthy signal level for each element of your song, so say for example it was drums, guitar, bass, piano and vocal, so you've got a nice healthy signal level coming in all of those. Now remember, we're talking about signal now, not so much volume. You've got the choice to change the volume with the faders, okay? So we are talking about signal and how much signal is coming into the meters. So you can change the volume of all that. Now, upon changing the volumes, when you change the volumes with the faders, what you're doing then is you're changing the overall level of the signal that goes into the master bus. So when you've mixed your music, your final mix should be coming in around about -6 dB on a master bus. Now, if you don't know what a master bus is, what I'm talking about, inside of Pro Tools there's one at the top somewhere on the edit window. But I think DAWs like Logic have already got them there, so you can they already appear when you just open the session. So I'm going to just open one in Pro Tools. Just open a master fader just to show you. So got that there. Okay, so we've got our master fader here. Okay. So we've got a backing track here. And we have our vocal there. Obviously this isn't mixed, this is just an example. So average in there around about -8 dB on the master fader, okay, on the master bus. So what happens then is we move on to the final phase. So once you've got your mix track and everything is exported and you've got a nice healthy signal level through all of the, for all of your recording, you've mixed and you've got a nice healthy signal level in your master, which is averaging around about sort of, I would say -8, -6 dB, no sort of higher than -4 at the maximum. So then we're moving on to what's called mastering. Now mastering is the part where we make our track louder, and we don't just make it louder by, some people just slap a limiter on there and maybe a little bit of EQ, and then we don't just make it louder by bringing the overall level up. There's different areas of loudness. We might be talking loudness as in what frequencies are allowed, what if maybe there's too much of a certain frequency in there. But a mastering engineer, it's an art form in itself. They will be looking at the overall track and finalizing that track so it's at a really healthy level for radio broadcast, or like your streaming sites. They all sort of got their own little compression levels for the final stream. But as a mastering engineer, what their job would be to bring it up to a really healthy level and make sure that it sounds really nice for the final product. So it's like that little icing on the cake just to finish off the track. Now mastering has changed so much throughout the last 60 years, say. The music you listen to today, the mainstream sort of pop, will be a lot different to sort of how it would have been years ago when music production first, recording first sort of took off. We are now sort of in an era where particularly in rock and heavy metal, there's something called the loudness wars, where everybody's trying to get the loudest possible mix, the loudest, healthiest sounding mix, whereas that sort of really squashes the dynamics and just brings everything to sort of like this wall of sound, which isn't always what you want. You want to keep the dynamics and the integrity of a song. Sometimes it helps with emotions, and particularly like with acoustic songs, that sort of thing. But then you've got the other side of the scale. Then we've got like your classical music, where I think classical music, particularly when you hear it on the radio, probably one of the only genres of music that you'll hear where the dynamics are still intact when it comes to hearing it on the radio. So the quiet parts will be quieter and the loud parts will be louder. So that's where classical music sort of varies to mainstream pop and rock, that sort of thing. So when it comes to mastering, we just want to make sure that our mix is sort of floating around that -6 part for the mastering engineer to go on and finalize that song and bring it up to that healthier level again. Now, I say mastering engineer, the mastering engineer in this case is me. So I'm the performer, I'm the recording engineer, I'm the producer, I'm the mastering engineer. So you wear so many hats when you are recording from home. So what we want to be doing is sort of not fall into the trap that a lot of people fall into, which is getting obsessed with watching the YouTube videos which say this microphone, this preamp, these are like the best equipment, and you're not going to get a good sound unless you spend thousands of pounds. And now there's a place for all of that. It's great, but that is something which you get to choose to do later on if you decide that is within budget, that sort of thing. But for this channel, we are looking at what we can do with what we have from where we are. So if that's a laptop, a one input interface and a microphone at this point, let's go with that. Let's see what we can do with that. So that takes us through the 3 stages. We've got recording, mixing and mastering. I hope that helps a little bit with the signal levels. Just remember that recording, you want to be sort of looking at that -18 to -12. The final mix should be somewhere around the -6 dB, and then the mastering afterwards will take it up to somewhere around -0.3 dB, so that we're not clipping the signal. So I hope you enjoyed the video today, and I hope you got something from it. If you did, leave me a comment down below and let me know how it helped. If you want to know some more about audio and video production, you can head over to my website www.theselfcontainedcreative.com, and you can get some free resources there. There'll also be more videos on this channel with regards to audio and video production. So until then, stay tuned, stay subscribed and stay creative.